All right, it is 7:05. We're going to get started. So thank you everyone for joining us for our program today on the Germania Avenue JCC. I'm having a little trouble with the muting everyone, so if everyone could find their own mute, that would make me make things so helpful. But we're really pleased to have such a large group. We have 46 people on already, and may have more people joining us. We had over 50 people sign up for tonight. So this is one of our first programs for the JC's 100th anniversary, and it's a really exciting program for today. I don't want to take too much time, but my name is Andy Katz. I'm the campus director here at the JCC. But before we get started, I want to thank our sponsors. So let me go to our next slide. So we want to thank our sponsors, our Centennial sponsor for the entire year's program, Neil and Jane Golub, our Gold sponsor, Gordon Zuckerman, who's also our moderator for tonight, our sponsor for the entire month, this month of beginnings, our monthly theme is Alex and Betty Hallenstein, and a very fitting, our Germania Avenue, our event sponsor, our sponsor for tonight's program is Aviva Hallenstein. So we're going to get started with a brief slideshow, some photos from the location, both exterior photos, interior photos, and programs.
Davis. You sit down. Sit down. No, listen.
All right, those are, I'm going to stop this share so we can get things bigger. That is our starting slideshow and pictures throughout the year. Thank you to, I think, Aviva Hallenstein and Jack Gold for working through the JC has a lot of archives and going through and finding those photos to share tonight. And thank you also, special thank you to Rachel Sakani, our camp director, who's been putting a lot of work into the 100th anniversary and a lot of our programs and putting together that slideshow. So it's my pleasure now to turn things over to longtime supporter and a strong community supporter, Gordon Zuckerman, who's going to lead us in today's program.
Andy, thank you very much. The plan, and thank you all for joining us on Zoom from literally all over the country. It's enjoyable seeing all of you on the Zoom. We have three specific guests tonight that we're going to talk about what was going on at the old JCC on Germania Avenue. Harlan Harrison, as you know, Alan Neufeld, and Jack Gold. And then about 25 minutes in or thereabouts, we'll open it up to others that can add additional information. For those of us that grew up in Schenectady and went to the JCC, but the building next door, which was the Schenectady Experiment, which was known as the Schenectady, the Cheder, as we would say. I believe there were three Orthodox synagogues, the one on State Street, Albany Street, and Hamilton Street. Hamilton, that now is a road. The other two still exist. And Agudas Achim and Gates of Heaven. We all the students went to the Germania Avenue location to learn our Aleph Bet and all the other good things. I think most of us got there by either walking or riding the bike, because again, we were still a fairly knit Jewish community in Schenectady proper. I'd like to start first with Harlan, who can give us a little bit of information. Harlan, where were you living And how did you get to the JCC and the Hebrew school?
Harlan, you just need to make sure you unmute first.
Okay. Yeah, I was living on Crane Street in Mount Pleasant. I got there by bicycle for the most part. And a lot of other kids use bicycles too. And that's where we had the Hebrew school, was right there at the Jewish Community Center. So, by the way, Hebrew school was an after-school event for most of us, and we were tired. So while I was pretty good student in school, but I was a screw up just like all the rest of us, the teachers were basically taught because they knew Hebrew. They weren't teachers. They didn't know how to control the class. I remember we used to throw jet planes around the class, paper airplanes with powder in it, and around dental powder around the classroom. So we were not exactly the best students in the world, but and one of the things I remember, they used to throw us out of the class many times, and we go down to high sulfurs who had pickles in a pickle barrel, go down there and get a pickle and come back there. They'd open the door and we're outside sucking on a pickle. That's about my experience there. It was a lot of fun, though. It was a lot of fun.
If I remember, we also had a teacher called Malinsky, who I think was a pitcher, at least with my older brother, may he rest in peace, because he was probably like you, Alan, and Harlan, and may got in trouble every once in a while. He would pitch chalk at the kids. So if you were acting up, right? You remember?
That's right. Yes, Polensky. That's correct.
Yes, and somebody said he was
chalk.
Yes, yes.
That's right.
Jack, you're shaking your head. You remember the?
I do remember. I don't remember all the teachers. Harlan and I had a little discussion about this afternoon about this, and we pretty much corroborated each other's stories. But he was a few years older than I, so I think the airplane stuff was over with by then. But I do remember it being difficult at times because, as he said, the teachers were a little rough on us if we misbehaved, and probably by today's standards they would be fired. But
Yeah.
Somehow we all managed to make it through for 5 years, I think, at that time.
And how did you get down there?
We walked. I lived in a neighborhood with Michael Saar and Barry Kramer, and we all walked down there. It's for Aviva Hallenstein's benefit. I clocked it yesterday in my car. She couldn't believe how far it was. It was only about 9/10 of a mile in each direction. So it wasn't as bad as I remembered. But in the winter, it was not pleasant.
Right, uphill both ways in blinding blizzard. I know. Yeah, we all know the story. And Alan, how did you get there? What did you do?
Got there in a 1951 Plymouth that my father drove. You know, I by that time that we started Hebrew school and started using the center mostly, Hebrew school was a combination. Ellen Ziffer Kernis was one of my classmates, and she's on the call too, and she'll corroborate. We had a couple of teachers by the name of Mr. Friend, Mar Haver, Mr. Friend, and 100% right, correct recollection that the teachers were teachers because they spoke Hebrew. No special instruction. And we did, you know, we went to class Monday afternoon after school, Wednesday afternoon, and then Sunday morning. And then after class on Sunday morning, I know the guys anyway, went, a lot of us, and went at the gym next door, and we played basketball in the Shield of David League. And the Shield of David League was a bunch of all of us, and Roger Harvey,
Roger,
the athletic director, and he ran the whole program. And his office was right there off of the gym. And I guess, we'd go to High Sulphurs as well. I had that written down as a note that after basketball on Sunday, we'd go over to High Sulphurs. My dad and most of the other parents allowed us to go over there and get a sandwich, of course, a pickle.
And I couldn't afford the sandwich. I could only afford the pickle.
And pay the bill, you know, and they'd pay High Sulphur $1 or whatever it was for the sandwich and the drink. And that was it. So, but also somebody recalled that it was a combination of all of the synagogues. That was the Hebrew school. And
Right.
let's see, what else can I tell you? There were other things that we did at the main building, where Mr. Robert Ludwig sat in his office, and you can hear his voice from his office all the time. He was a director, as I believe, of the center. And we used to go to, we had Aleph Tzaddik Aleph, which was AZA, a boys fraternal organization. We had ABG, which was another boys. So there were some people from different synagogues went to one group and one went to the other. I was in AZA because we went to Beth Israel Synagogue. And then then the girls were BBG, the B'nai B'rith girls. And we had some good times together. We had fraternal parties and get-togethers, and it was really nice. We had a very nice, Ellen, I think you'll agree that it was a nice experience for us to go to Hebrew school there, and we had a good bunch of friends. And
yeah, great
good
bunch of
memories.
friends. Yes, absolutely. And one thing I said to Alan earlier that I remembered, when you misbehave, if you were female and you misbehaved in Mr. Friend's class, he would kick you out and tell you to go sit in the AZA meeting. So the girls said, "Oh, okay, we'll do that." That was a bad thing to do. So
Yes. And
Yes.
Harlan,
Yes.
you didn't get into basketball, did you?
Well, I was the worst basketball player that ever lived. So Murray Melton, I guess, was the big star at that time, and his team beat us about 104-5. So I scored 4 of those 5 points. I had a big meeting with Murray 20 years later. I said, "You think you're such a big shot? You only scored 60% of your team's points. I scored 80% of my team's points." Well, I was the worst of the worst, but we had a good time. We had a good time.
There were some wonderful players that came out of that league, that Shield of David League. I think,
Yeah.
probably the two best basketball players that ever were born and grew up in Schenectady, namely Murray and Barry Kramer, came up out of that league. Murray was like a man when the rest of us were still little
Yeah,
kids.
he had
Barry
the shot. It was a low shot. Do you remember? It was a low shot.
No, he was
early in the-
fabulous. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Barry took a little longer to mature, but he ended up being
Yeah, that's
most
right.
of
Yeah.
you
Went on
know.
to NYU.
So
He was
he
a star at NYU.
he was an awesome player, college level as well.
Yeah, and NYU, he was a star there.
New
He
York
went on
Knicks.
to San Francisco, and he played
First
a
team
little bit.
All-American in college. I mean, that was quite an achievement.
He played some
The New York Knicks for a while.
New York Knicks for a little while.
And he was a successful attorney and judge there. So the JCC had a few good alumni that they can brag about. At least
Now,
for
were any of you part of the Boy Scouts, Troop 19?
I
No.
was in it for a year. I thought I was a Cubs. It could have been Boy Scouts. I don't remember.
I
Louis
remember the
Golub
Boy
was
Scouts were there, but I was not a member. They wouldn't have me. I wasn't good enough for them.
I
Oh,
think
okay.
Louis Golub was the
Louis Golub at one point was
leader.
he
Yeah.
was the leader.
Yeah.
My younger brother Gilroy actually stayed involved with him while he was in high school, so he was like a troop assistant with Louis and a number of others. And again, they did a lot of good things.
Yeah.
For those of us that remember Bob Ludwig of blessed memory, I don't know if he was the executive director or program director.
Yeah, he was some kind of a
Yeah.
official.
Right. Most of the kids remember, now we're adults, he would always play the piano many times there with it. And many of us, because of the Hebrew school tied in with JCC, would, let's say Hanukkah, be down at the old Channel 6, down where Schenectady County Community College is, and we would put on music. And Bob, I remember, and I came across some of his letters that he sent to my mother, and he would, there were 3 boys, Jerry, myself, and Gilroy, and he would send an individual letter for each of us to my mother. And I'm assuming he sent it only to the mothers, not to the fathers. And rather than saying, Mrs. Zuckerman, your 3 boys were wonderful, he sent one for each one. And that's how Bob was.
Did you ever get a wonderful?
Well, my mother got the wonderful. I don't know. I tried not singing because my brother Jerry was going to be a cantor, so he had a fantastic voice.
Yeah, he did. He did. Yeah.
Yeah, and some of us, sing on the black keys, some in the white. I sing in the cracks, so I didn't sing too loudly, But yeah, I think we all took bikes. I would ride my bike down. I think down at the bottom of the hill was a little candy store that had
That
one of
was where I
the.
got the pickle. It wasn't a
No,
candy
no,
store.
the
It was
pickle was down the street.
okay, okay,
on
maybe there was
Summit.
another candy store.
On Summit,
Okay,
there
you're
was
right. You're right.
It was,
you're right.
and I believe they had. I know they had a pinball machine because I love playing pinball machines. So I think I missed some of the Hebrew classes anyway.
You know what else we did? We used to go also there was a hot dog place at the bottom of the hill of Germania
Yeah.
Avenue, right on Albany Street. It was
That's-
Newest Lunch or New Way Lunch. One of the
That's right.
No.
Right.
Newest lunch, and as a matter of fact, they are also celebrating their 100th anniversary as
Wow.
well, because they started in 1921. So it's
so-
interesting. And I
Wow,
know
that's amazing.
if you noticed, we have Chris Leonard on, who is the Schenectady historian, and he's doing some work. He's waving down at I don't know where he is on yours. And again, he's very much interested in the history, and hopefully he's going to get a copy of where I'm assuming we're recording this.
Correct.
So he would like it for the archives, but he is working, as Andy said, with the JCC, with Aviva and others, and getting from his archives information as well. So it's very interesting.
So rich history, a lot of the families, as Gordon's mentioning his two brothers who I knew pretty well as well, and so many people, the Ziffers, Paul and Phil were long, past presidents, as Harlan and I and Eric and a number of other people that are on here. It's a wonderful memory to have the association with the families and the people the names and the faces keep jumping up, the Ernie Kahns, the wonderful people that were part of the organization over the years that did so much to advance the JCC and then build it to the point where we were able to move and build the new facility over on Balltown Road. It's just a great history, and I'm looking at all the faces and remembering so many of you, and it just does the heart good to see you, Harvey and Ann Kramer, and just so many people Barbara. It's just such a good memory,
Yes, Alan, and mentioning Ann Kramer, Ann, since you're part of the younger group that used to go there, we got to watch our age comments.
I like to be in the younger group.
Yeah, right. Whatever. Why don't you give us some of your remembrance and what you did there?
Yeah, because we belong to Temple Gates, there was no Hebrew school for us. We came on Sunday, and my dad drove me, and he came and picked me up. We also had Delta Psi was the sorority.
Right.
Yeah, and from high school, and we pledged because the other sororities really weren't welcoming to us. So we had our own at the JCC. And I can remember coming from junior high, Central Park Junior High, taking a bus down State Street all the way to wherever it left us off near the JCC, all the girls, and we played basketball. And Roger Harvey was the organizer of this little league for girls. So that was a good thing. And they had wonderful dances, and there was a room above the gym. Anybody remember that?
Yes.
And it was a very nice social meeting.
Right.
Yeah, so that was good. So those were my memories. They were all wonderful, very sweet and very wonderful. Good place. Good place.
Neat.
And at times, I think on rare occasions, we would go into Albany on Washington Avenue with the JCC when they were located, the Albany JCC there. And again, I think most parents would always, oh, you're going there, no problem. Because again, it was Jewish. There wasn't the concern on that. There's others on the Zoom. Bill Shapiro, you got any?
Yep, Billy.
You gotta hold it, but you
Oh, just unmute. Yep.
just, there you go.
I was amazed that I got a trophy for playing basketball. I think everybody got one. I don't know how I got one.
It's just
Time's
like
up.
now with all the kids.
I didn't get a trophy. I was too bad to get a trophy.
But it was a lot of fun being with everybody there. They were friendly. I belong to the ABG.
So did I.
Yeah, I wanted to be AZA, but they said no more room. You gotta go to the, I don't know what the line was, why some of us were ABG, why some were AZA, I don't know. But we had a good time and everybody was friendly. And I do remember Bob Ludwig.
Everybody remembers him.
And I think I got in trouble with him more than once. And I don't know what for. I just got in trouble with him.
Interesting.
Well, you weren't the only one.
Yeah,
But Bob was difficult back those days. I got to know him very well afterwards, and I said I was scared to death of you, Bob. Now I call you
That's right.
Bobo.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Jack and Alan, did you have siblings that went also?
Sure.
He had three younger brothers, so there was quite a span in age.
Barry, Peter, and Louie.
Barry, Peter, and Louie. So from me to Louie, there was 13 years. So we were spread out quite a bit. As a matter of fact, I remember going. Louie was born on the morning of Michael Sarr's bar mitzvah.
Oh,
But yeah, our experiences at the center varied a lot. I don't recall talking to them too much about that. But by the time I was about 13, I had pretty much used up my, after we got bar mitzvah, you either hung around to go to Hebrew high school or jumped ship and started doing other things. And I was finally able to talk my parents into letting me jump ship. So that's when we started playing golf and baseball for a couple of years. And well, I didn't have too much of a connection with the center until actually I came back to Schenectady, which was 1975. So I missed out on a lot.
both my sister Susan, who was 2 years older, and my brother Joel, who was 6 years younger, they also went. So they all went through the whole program as I did and enjoyed it. We all, it was part of our lives. That was
Did you go to
wonderful
the
thing.
high school, the Hebrew high school?
No, they didn't go to Hebrew high school.
Okay, yeah.
Neither did I.
Neither did I.
Nobody did. No, nobody did.
You did, Ellen?
I did.
Did you?
Who did?
Yeah, that was brutal.
Yeah, well, there you go.
I think we all tried to figure out a way of getting out of the high school.
My father was the chairperson of the joint venture for the Hebrew school.
Yeah.
And so it was really kind of difficult for me to skip out.
Did you have to go at night? Is that when it was?
Well, yeah, like 7 to 9.
That's what I thought. Yeah, that's what I thought. That would have been a bad walk from where we lived at night.
Yeah, I never walked it. We were in a carpool with Alan, Janet Sarr.
Uh-huh.
Who else was in the carpool? Oh, Bobby Deber.
Deber, right. That was Earl Avenue up there.
Right.
Harlan, so you didn't do much in basketball, but then what did you do? Get into golf?
Well, golf, they started a golf league. They had a men's golf league and they started a boys golf league. And that's when I went in to play golf. I got a 44 handicap for 9 holes. And I couldn't play with it.
Well, things haven't changed, Harlan.
But anyway, that's what got me into golf was the Jewish Community Center.
Great.
You're still playing.
Other
Yeah.
people have any comments?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
One of the greatest decisions they made was moving to middle of Niskayuna. Can someone explain how that was done? Anybody have any stories about that? But that led to the real success of our JCC, putting it in the middle of Niskayuna.
Yeah, I think that's right. I don't
Yeah,
remember. I was out of town when that happened, I was in New York.
The people involved with that were the Ernie Kahns. Ernie Kahn was very instrumental.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ernie, Uncle Phil, and
Phil Ziffer,
Phil?
right?
I think what they decided was there was a point where they needed
More space.
more space, and where did everybody live?
That's where
And
everybody was
there-
moving.
Right,
Yeah,
and there
I
were
was not living there.
Jews were moving into Niskayuna, because at the beginning, there weren't a lot of Jews there. Schenectady had its group, and then started Clifton Park started also. So I think that was part of what, it was kind of that central location that everybody could get to easily.
Well, that's why when we're now doing this celebration for the 100th anniversary for the next 12 months, there will be at one point, I am sure, a discussion and hopefully Zoom or getting together that will explain the move to Balltown Road. So keep tuned in, folks, so that you know what's happening, you know? And now that we have your emails and everything, don't worry, we'll be sending to you, you know? Is there anything, any other people want to come on, comments? If not, Andy, I'll turn it back over to you for a little bit of a slide presentation again. And again, I thank you all for joining us. And it was very informative and it was a lot of fun. Thank you all.
Does
Thanks
anybody
for
have,
organizing.
does anybody have any recollections of White's Beach?
Sure.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I do.
There you go. Okay, then let's keep it going.
I
Oh
worked at White's Beach. I was a counselor. I forgot about White's Beach.
my gosh.
Yeah.
We all the campers came to the JCC on Germania, and we bused
Right.
out to White's Beach.
And
For
Bob
many years.
always had pants on that had these like Captain Kangaroo pockets. And pants, and he had like a million things in his pants.
It was
When
out
I
off
first-
of Route 50, a little piece of Ballston
Right,
Lake.
that's right.
And all of us, many of the families would take advantage of it because it was available to all of us. And we went to day camp there. I went to day camp there. And we, at one point, when I was about 21, no. When I was, and it was a great place. You know, the family would go, you picnic, you go there on the weekends. And it was just a lovely
I
place.
went one.
Back when
When-
I was at the golf, but I was at the golf. I didn't go there.
When I
Eric-
first got into the community,
on the
when I first
board.
got into the community, Mike Ravel, the executive director of the
No,
JCC, took me out to White's Beach to see this Noah's Ark type of building that was the main base for White Beach. And I think about 6 months ago, we drove out there to see what was left, and everything is closed off. It's all, I think, a housing development around the lake now, around the beach.
Well,
Find the
board of
remnants
directors,
of White Beach.
Eric, if you remember when I think you were on the board at the time when we were on the board and we made the decision to sell White's Beach.
Yes.
Yeah, and we entertained offers and we wound up selling it for I think like 20 grand.
Yes.
Area, but you know, we didn't need it anymore and we just didn't need to pay the taxes and the upkeep, etc. So
Do you remember why that was, Alan?
why
No,
not?
look at there's Alex. Alex, how are you?
Okay.
Alex, there you are.
Yep.
TVs, contamination, right?
No, well, that was part of it, but they closed, when the JCC opened on Balltown Road, they stopped operating the camp there. But we held on to the land. White's Beach originally had been, I guess, a day resort because there was the trolley that went right by there.
Yes.
Well, that was before our time.
And you know, yeah. And then they bought it in 55 or 56 and used it as a day camp. And also a Sunday family
Right.
thing.
Mhm.
And then when it stopped being used in 66, and we actually had an offer, this is right after I came to town, an offer from, I think, the county wanted to buy it and have a public boat launch on the lake. There was no public boat launch on Ballston Lake. And they offered us over $100,000. And then the town got wind of this and said, well, if they're going to sell it, we're going to tax you on it.
Oh,
And then they said, we won't give anybody a building permit because there's an unguarded railroad crossing to get to it. and we don't have to give anybody a building permit. And they forced our hand and forced us to sell a property.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Or we had to pay, or we are going to have to pay property tax.
I'm just going to share a picture of it really quick with everyone. Does anyone recognize this?
Pinch out for a bigger view. Oh, what's that?
We were kids when I went.
That's what Ellen was referring to.
Yeah, that's what it looked
Yeah.
Mm.
Bad looking.
like.
Wow.
At locker
Yeah, I
rooms
assume so. That could be. Yeah, I guess,
downstairs, right?
I didn't know that.
There were
Alex,
some other buildings there too.
one other thing, Alex, you should know.
Yeah.
What a wonderful person your daughter Aviva is. She's wonderful. She's done a terrific job in putting this together, helping to put this together, and she's so kind and sweet to talk to. She is quite the young woman.
Yeah, I'll second that too. She's a very nice girl.
Bravo, bravo.
Girl. Yeah, okay.
I agree.
Thank you very much, Alan. Thank you.
Look, I can hear you now.
Just like a Jewish father, you embarrassed the hell out of her. But she has done a wonderful job. Thank you. I don't see hands up or anything for comments. Andy, again, back to you. And again, thank you all for being on tonight.
Thank you for putting this on, Gordy.
I didn't do it. It's the staff. I'm just sitting here. You
Well,
know.
that's all right. And the staff.
Well, we haven't figured it out yet.
Staff is good,
And
too.
wait a minute, folks, before you go off, remember, everyone knows that I usually ask for a donation. I will be back in touch with all of you. Don't forget.
And can I just say to Anne and Sid, have a wonderful time, and we look forward to seeing you when you come back.
Thank you, dear. We're thinking of you.
Okay, good.
Okay, thanks. Judy Ben-Ami.
That's Judy.
Yeah, Judy.
So,
And
hi, and
Andy.
thank you everyone for your involvement tonight. And it's been a great pleasure hearing all these great stories and reminiscing. Gordon did a tremendous job leading the conversation. It was great to hear both all of our panelists' perspectives and everyone who joined us today in sharing their stories. We wanted to, Gordon had a great point that part of this 100-year program is funding is a big part of it, and sponsorships is incredibly appreciated. You'll see a list of our sponsors on the screen. We have varying levels of sponsors from our Centennial sponsor, Gold sponsors, Silver sponsors, Balltown Road sponsors, and Germania Avenue level sponsors. So we encourage you to get involved. There's information on our website, and we would love to have more people involved as we put on 4 to 5 programs each month. And your support is incredibly appreciated. We also have a program at the JCC called Life and Legacy. It is a program of giving, either for estate planning or for a living gift. We're fortunate to have nearly 20 donors, many people who are on this call who've made that decision to consider the JCC in their estate planning and their affairs. And they're also, our staff would be happy to talk to you more about that. And we appreciate everyone who's made that decision. And lastly, we encourage you to join us this time next week. There will be no football game you'll be missing as well. Safe then, as we celebrate our official kickoff of the 100th anniversary. We will have an unveiling of our official 100th anniversary logo. There'll be a much longer video with more photos, testimonials, photos from the entire 100 years. You'll hear from our CEO, David Posner, our board president, Barbara Walton, an interview with Neil Golub on his perspectives of his time at the JCC, and a lot more. So we hope to see you again next week. You can, you do need to sign up just like you did for tonight's Zoom, and that information will make sure that everyone in this group gets an email about it this week. And also you can get that information on the website. So thank you very much for tuning in tonight. It was a really wonderful experience, and we look forward to celebrating this year together.